Thoth speaks to me of the pure gem as a future ascended state of the human form. It is a multifaceted light vehicle for the soul. We are encouraged not to wait for the future, since time is a multidimensional vehicle, past, present, can be summoned into the now moment. The pure gem will, as all the energy bodies, including the physical, become a pulsing gem-like quality once ascended into the new Earth star. This pure gem state isn't something that is simply non-existent 1 minute, then we ascend and it is there. It will still be a matter of receiving it in stages, but in the new Earth star, the stages will not require eons of time, as time is quite different in the new Earth star. Even now, in this current world experience, we have the opportunity to begin to become pure gem beings, even if on micro levels of the total transformation. These micro levels are vital phases of the whole process. I've made a video previously on the pure gem and the M-Stra molecule because the two go together so well. But this video is really focusing specifically on the change of the human element within the pure gem construct. I will be linking the other video on the pure gem, the M-Stra molecule, and Michael Dunn's discussion with me on that subject in the information box below. In 1976, I received from the Thoth Akasha the Pure Gem Codex. This was given to me or opened to me by the star kindred I was working with at the time. It would be another year before I could directly communicate with Thoth, but it nevertheless came from his Akasha. The actual entire codex is not the subject of this video. It is highly esoteric and difficult to understand. I doubt that I will ever release it in full. However, I am going to be reading to you just a small portion of that codex that is understandable, and I believe it might be beneficial to some. So I'm going to share it with you here, as well as a activational connection to that whole stream. The pure gem is a synthesis of soul presence and human behavior, which when realized forms a pure structure, a line of action on the physical plane that is in perfect alignment with the energized intelligence of mankind. Consequently, what is now, what in essence is qualitative only, through the realization of the pure gem, will become also quantitative in our physical reality. Through incarnation, the soul will multiply and grow, evolve, its quality of presence within specific manifested forms. It will then be able to interact physically with spiritual properties more precisely and effectively. Humanity will thus find its world in the highest phase of its physical evolution, that point of cosmic chemistry, which is the last vestige of atomic gravitation binding the soul. Enveloped in the etheric plane, humanity and its world will become a finely faceted state of purification before the release of its physical nature. As individual souls evolve into higher stages of existence, so does the earth as a whole. The pure gem state is the final collective effort of Earth's incarnate souls to achieve physical unity within an etheric perspective. The physical body inhabited by such souls will become one with the whole spectrum of the soul's greater being. Through its pure gem state, humanity will ultimately realize the multiple characters of its soul and utilize the experiences of its past and future selves. By focusing our energies into one conscious realization, we will explicate the true cosmogony, in turn releasing ourselves from the need for physical experience. For in the understanding of the creation of the physical cosmogony, in the comprehension of physical order, man will cut himself free from his insecurities, which place him in doubt of his role in the universal schematic. Not unlike an orphan child, mankind has ardently longed for its celestial heritage. Through the recognition of the consummation of his seed, man will thirst no more in the regions of physical worlds, but ascend into the fuller domain of heaven. In order to achieve this realization, the human system must connect to its higher presence, and the soul within must be absorbed within its oversoul, its true self. While the accumulation of knowledge to humanity's conscious senses is essential in its mental development, it is the application of knowledge through the physical reaction to the cosmic principle that constitutes the realization of the soul. In humanity's choice of physical alignment to cosmic reason, humanity places itself in the flow of nature, building a structured sense analogous to its divine character or spirit. In this decisive action, humanity conspires with its senses to duplicate the creative acts of universal intelligence. While humanity makes few attempts to declare its absolute allegiance to the source or the true basic laws, it creates in pantomime a definitive logos in which the Codex of all universal law may be found. It is time for mankind to trace its own symbology for an accurate disclosure of its relationship to the universal mind that recognizes its existence. Within this Pure Gem Codex is to be found a symbolic representation of the prismatic lines that extend from the universal reckoning and interact with the actions of souls, forming a golden mean of harmony and the higher expression of the soul, which is capable of creating atomic synchronization and ultimately physical reality. This concludes the quote from the Pure Gem Codex, which was received by me in 1976. At this point, I would like to discuss it just for a few moments. When I received this codex, I did not know about the new Earth Star, World System 1 to World System 2, any of that. My relationship with Thoth developed, so one thing led to another, However, I found almost no inconsistencies in the material that I received these 55 plus years. There are some places where it needs to be filled in more. I didn't understand what I was receiving, so therefore I gave it an interpretation that, let's say, was limited, or maybe just didn't quite hit the mark. Even that is rare, but there were places where that happened. The reason I'm mentioning this to you is because I want to clarify some points that were delivered to me at that time. Talking about releasing the physical, moving into the higher spiritual. Obviously, we must do that on many levels. We can do that while we're still in the body. It's not about dying to do it. Yeah, you can do that too, and you will. But it's about, finding that place where all is one, where you're not limited to the physical body. And therefore, it can be transitioned, it can be transformed, you can be in a higher state of physicality for a period of time, you can come and go from that state. You see, there are all kinds of directions that you can flow when you understand the principle of expanding beyond the physical. This does not indicate that the physical is a bad thing. As Thoth has said to me, matter does matter. And actually, there's no physical, really, because from the higher perspective, the Thothic perspective, there is nothing but spirit. What we call matter and he indulges us in that word. Physicality, he uses that word, but he clarifies that he's using it for our sake so we can understand these graduations. But actually, everything is spirit. So the densest of matter is simply an organization of spirit in a way that atomically aligns for us for useful purposes. I especially liked where he said that through incarnation, the soul will multiply and evolve its quality of presence within specific manifested forms. It will then be able to interact physically with spiritual properties more precisely and effectively. I believe that's where we are right now. Remember, this was given to me in 76, and where we were then and where we are now is light years apart in many respects. I believe right now we are at the crucible of being able to interact physically with spiritual properties more precisely and effectively. Well, I really wasn't planning on reading any more of the Pure Gem Codex to you here, but Thoth tapped me on the shoulder, so to speak, and requested that I do share just a bit more. So I'm going to do that right now. In the Codex, Thoth is speaking of the temple light. He's using that as a terminology that is understandable to us. And he states, "The temple light is the gathering of souls into a commitment of flexible realities. It began long before the earth breathed its first creative sigh, but also it could be said that it begins now, in the moment you read this. Although such continuity of the souls is a cosmic law applied to all souls, the order of the temple light are those souls initiated through recognition for the purpose of sustaining divine knowledge through all generations of existence. Through the temple light may be received instruction from your higher self in a past or future character, and also the past or future characters of other souls whom you know or have known. As the temple light is an order or group of souls dedicated to a purpose, it would seem to be selective in its initiates. Yet the temple light is not temporal, but the etheric archetype of physical orders. Therefore, the initiation process of this higher order is not bound to secular conformity. The temple light is timeless, the resultant synthesis of past, present, and future. It is then numberless in initiates, excluding no souls, as all souls eventually attain the ability of etheric sovereignty, thus opening the door of the soul's superconsciousness to the realization of its multiple continuity. Once this is achieved, the soul is fully realized within the temple light. It becomes aware of its continuous being through multiple characters of karmic circumstance, each character being the higher presence of the soul during an individual incarnation. The souls of the temple light are energy extensions of the temporal being. While the soul is in a physical system, i.e. incarnate, the higher presence, while resuming the identity of the physical system, is not bound by temporal relativity, but rather freed to express the total soul through the gnosis of divine reason. In this timeless forum of thought, it is not the higher presence that is the duplication of the physical system. The higher presence is the divine realization of the soul, the archetype, oversoul, who assumes the character of the temporal half in order to communicate its existence to that lower self. As the soul is released from one character and assumes another via incarnation, the oversoul or higher presence encompasses the new character. As all time is one in the etheric plane, the soul does not discard past identities for newer ones, but instead encompasses new dimensions of experience as an expansion, increasing its design. Each character remains then as a golden bead of intelligence upon the string of time, while yet another bead is added by the infinite artisan of divine law. Understand that the temple light is a structure of intelligence through the vehicle of experience. A soul seen within the temple light displays the many phases of karmic experience, expressing each character to the fullest, while maintaining the pure Gnostic value. The structure of the temple is built on the foundation of divine cosmic law. It is this law that is the core of the pure gem, the temple light being the etheric externalization of profound principle.